why dating for cis heterosexual males is going to become even more complicated in the years to come. All right, so I want to start by introducing this video here, and this is a panel discussion on Fox Soul. So I'll let the host introduce the video.
Tonight we're having a conversation that is long overdue. It's a conversation between Black trans and Black cisgender women. There's a divide between us, and it's marginalizing a vital part of our community. And unfortunately, our trans sisters are being brutalized and even murdered for simply being themselves. I have invited 4 women, 2 trans and 2 cisgender women, to share their unique perspectives and backgrounds with us. We're talking about the underlying issues that are preventing us from coming together. We're gonna hash out things, and in the end, we can support each other as Black women, because we certainly do need each other. Please welcome Jada Black Beauty, Alicia Luncheon, Chastity Moore, and Dominique the Diva. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Hi, Claudia.
Thank you. Hi, Claudia.
Okay, so this is the introduction to the panel, and this is the panel that will be discussing the issues of the day. Okay, so we're going to move from there to our first point, and we're going to take a listen here. Okay, here we go.
Quick, before we move on, we'd like you to explain real quick. I know I understand what it means, but the term passable.
Okay, so here they're going to discuss what passable means, right? So I mean, I'm sure that's pretty upfront, but I just want to make sure that you have a chance to hear the women on the panel discuss this term. Okay, here we go. Take a listen.
Can one of you explain that?
So the term passable is when you are a Black trans woman or a Black trans man, and you can pass as a cis person. So someone who is passable have different privileges versus trans women who may not be as passable, or trans men who may not be as passable. In our community, it's called passable privilege.
Yeah, you could just blend into society, and no one is really questioning, what you're presenting as.
Okay, so here we're kind of getting introduced to one of the first issues, or one of the first difficulties, and that is if you're dealing with people who are passable, right? And there's no real way to verify what you're dealing with. So if you're, there are a lot of lines. You can hear even the way I'm talking that I'm being extremely careful about the words I'm choosing, because there are certain rights of people that have to be protected, but there are other rights of other people that we don't know how they're being protected, right? So let's keep listening.
Dominique and Alicia, I want to ask you straight up, and just I'm sure you're going to keep it real, but how do you feel about seeing transgender women in a women's bathroom?
How would I even know?
Right.
Well, the non-passable, because I just want to,
I wouldn't care. If you're in the bathroom to use the bathroom, I don't even understand what the discussion is. I mean, I've never felt, threatened or like I was going to get assaulted when I'm going to the bathroom, especially like if I'm drunk somewhere at a club or out at night. I'm just like, hey, what's going on? And I'm going about my business. I think your children too. Children don't care. Little boys, little girls, they go in, it's just not that deep. So I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, great.
I feel like Chastity was saying, like, it wasn't a big deal until, certain people started trying to make it a big deal. Like, I'm going in here to handle my business, drop my kids off at the pool, you drop your kids off at the pool, everything's good, you know what I mean? And you make a lot of friends in the bathroom too. I made a lot of fun friends in the bathroom, so I don't really have a problem with that part. Yeah.
Well, you would, and it's like, well, hopefully you would want a lot of the girls to go in the girls' bathroom instead of being in there with your man.
Okay, so again, we're the bathroom debate, which I really don't care very much about, but there probably are people who care about it in their own way. But the question is not necessarily about which bathroom to use. It's whose rights are getting protected, whose rights are not being protected. And it's really messy. It's just really difficult terrain to navigate, right? So I think they moved past this conversation. So I want to go I want to skip past this because I don't think that's so incredibly important. But here we're going to hear them further the conversation. Let's take a listen.
They like over sexualize us. Like it's this like, I don't understand like why they are so obsessed with the genitalia of trans people. Like no matter what the topic is, no matter who it is, it could be a child, it could be whoever, right. But if they're transgender, the next question or what they're saying is something about their genitalia. Do you have? Like, why is it that we always go to the genitalia? That is like the first thing, as if that is what defines us.
Okay, so why this conversation is so important is because you basically have two sets of rights. It's the people who have the desire to I don't know, not talk about their private parts. They would like to protect their privacy. But there's also the other part of it where how much right does a person approaching this person have to know what kind of private parts they have, right? And so there again, we're seeing a difficulty here. So when I talk about how difficult dating world's going to get, this is one of the difficulties that's looming, is that how much right do you have to, where are the lines? Who gets offended with what? And so, you know, let's just keep listening.
And they can't say they don't like it because we are number one on Pornhub. So they can't say they're paying attention.
Alicia, and there's a plethora of girls. There's so many different types of girls. Of course, sex, like they always put sex with it. And I have nothing against sex work. I have nothing against.
Okay, well, that's enough of that. But I think what's important to see here is that by definition, we're looking at 4 women here, right? So if you go to a club or bar, whatever, and you see 4 women, these are 4 women. So it's 4 women. That's the way the game is working now. Okay, we're gonna move past this. I want to move forward to their next talking point here. So let's take a listen.
So there's,
and I think this is what we start asking questions.
That's this woman.
I think we need to start. I think as people, we need to start asking transgender people questions and not being scared. Because I can understand that everybody may not have the education, like Claudia said earlier. But it's asking questions. It's like, you know, you see a presenting woman in front of you, you can ask, you know, what are your pronouns? Some people may get offended, some people may not. I'm the type of person, I feel like if you want to know something, you ask. You don't walk up to a trans person and say, oh, you look like a woman, you a man trying to be a woman. It's like, you know, it's kind of like common sense in a sense. You know, just like people assume that you're a trans woman and then you still have a penis or a lady part, however you want to call it. You know, and they go straight to the genitalia. It's all about asking questions, and then it's about educating yourself after you ask the question.
Jada, can you understand how we would be afraid? Because it's so easy to misstep. I remember covering a story about a man that said he was attracted to transgender women, but he said that his.
Okay, so this is actually a good point she's making here, because she's talking about basically, like, it's very easy to offend someone in this kind of environment, right? So maybe to a certain person, if you ask what are your pronouns, they don't care. But if you ask that to a different person, they feel violated. So it's a game we're talking about that's very difficult to navigate, right? And so I wanted her to finish this story here.
His words were, he's attracted to the look of a woman with a penis. That's what he said.
Lady
right?
parts. We're gonna say lady parts to keep it kind of clean, so the viewers don't get kind of, you know.
He said he was attracted to a woman with a penis, right? So then I was like, okay. So I asked a question about it, and it was like I was basing it off of what he said, and just the question made me afraid to even have further conversation. And I think there's a lot of cisgender women that want to be allies, but are so afraid of, if I don't perfectly form my question the first time out, I'm gonna get canceled and viewed as homophobic and transphobic. I'm sorry, and nobody wants that. Like, it's a scary thing. Can y'all understand how we could be like?
I can.
Okay, so of course we're hearing this from the female point of view or the woman point of view, but you have to go a step further than that and think about what is at risk for a male in the situation, right? A male could get completely canceled or get a lot of trouble, right? So you can hear how she parses her words, because she's the host, because she's extremely careful about where the lines are and not wanting to step over the wrong lines, right? And so if it's difficult for these 5 women to have this conversation, how much more difficult does it get when you introduce a cis heterosexual male into this conversation or into this dating environment, okay? And so we're going to move past, because this is actually the most important part of the video here. And this part I actually really want you guys to hear, because this goes right to the point of why things are going to get much more complex, okay? Let's take a listen here.
I really understand what the issue is, but when I hear trans women talk about it, it's not trans women, but when I hear cisgender women talk about it, they're more so concerned about, okay, they want to know that another person is trans right away. Like, it for a cisgender woman,
I want to piggyback off of that.
A lot of straight men, they want to know within first meeting 2.5 seconds that you're trans, and they want to know it, on their terms. I know a lot of cisgender people probably want to know, like, okay, when can they ask you, or when does that conversation come up?
I want to say something.
Oh, wait, hold that thought, Jada. We're gonna come right back to you. We have to take our last break, and Jada, we're coming to you first.
Okay, so this is where they went to break here, and there's a very good question that was asked here, right? It's like, how do you introduce the situation? How what is the right way to do it? We don't know the right way to do it, right? And so, should you ask pronouns? Should you make sure of that? Can you incorporate that into game? You might ask, what are your pronouns, to a heterosexual female? You might ask pronouns to a trans female, and she might be offended. There are a lot of places to kind of avoid kind of stepping on here. So I want you guys to hear kind of the explanation for how to deal with this kind of wanting to know up front what you're dealing with. Okay, so let's take a listen here.
Our last break, and Jada, we're coming to you first. We'll be right back with the last part of Out Loud on Foxhole. Welcome back to Out Loud. We're having an interesting conversation. We have 2 transgender women here and 2 cisgender women here. And before we went to break, Jada, you was about to answer that question about when a trans person should reveal, or when it's okay to ask. And I know you wanted to answer that question.
Yes, it's not a reveal, because I'm not a costume. So let's start there. And then 2, I feel like the society want transgender people to introduce themselves as trans the moment they meet them. If I'm in a club, I'm not gonna say, hey, my name is, if a guy comes up to me and he says, would you like a drink? I'm not gonna say, yeah, I would like a drink. And he say, what's your name? I'm Jada, yes, and I'm trans. Like, nobody says that. I don't expect cis women to be like, hi, my name is Kathy and I have anal cancer, or my name is this and I have stomach cancer. You shouldn't require people to introduce themselves or label themselves for your beneficial reasons. Like, what would be the reason why you would know I'm trans if we're in the club? Like, what would they do for you?
Okay, so you can hear this question here, and I could rewind it, but matter of fact, I'll let you rewind it, because I think this is actually kind of impertinent to this conversation, is that what right do you as a cis heterosexual male have to know that the person that you're approaching is what you might consider they are, and what right do you have to ask to make sure? So let's listen again, because I want to hear the full answer, so that you kind of get an idea of kind of the complexity that is kind of being introduced to the dating market.
Ask. And I know you wanted to answer that question.
Yes, it's not a reveal, because I'm not a costume. So let's start there. And then 2, I feel like the society want transgender people to introduce themselves as trans the moment they meet them. If I'm in a club, I'm not gonna say, hey, my name is, if a guy comes up to me and he says, would you like a drink? I'm not gonna say, yeah, I would like a drink. And he say, what's your name? I'm Jada, yes, and I'm trans. Like, nobody says that. I don't expect cis women to be like, hi, my name is Kathy and I have anal cancer, or my name is this and I have stomach cancer. You shouldn't require people to introduce themselves or label themselves for your beneficial reasons. Like, what would be the reason why you would know I'm trans if we're in a club? Like, what would they do for you if we're in a club? Why do I have to reveal that I'm trans for you? And it's dangerous.
Okay, so again, we're talking about how at what point should the disclosure take place, right? Should it happen in the club? Whose responsibility is it to say, I am X, and you're approaching me because you think I'm X, or you? It's a very difficult game to play. Listen to the rest of the response.
And I go to all type of clubs. I go to straight clubs. I go to gay clubs. I go to more straight functions than I do gay functions. I'm very popular on social media, and I would never disclose myself in a public setting like that. It would never happen, and I don't care who may take offense to it. It's just not gonna happen.
There's the examples of girls being killed that told that they spilled their tea. Tea means like telling that you're trans or whatever. The girl who was beat in New York.
Okay, so what we're hearing here is kind of one of the things one of the reasons why I chose to make this video is that what is going to be the modus operandi for disclosure? What right does the guy who's approaching the woman have to know that he's approaching a woman or a transgender woman or whatever might be the case, right? And so here we're hearing the argument for why a transgender woman should not disclose her sexuality, I guess, to someone that's approaching them in a public setting. So when is the time to do it? And the reason why this is so difficult is because when is the time to do it? When is it? Let's listen a little bit longer.
Killed because
my girlfriend
some type of way. Yeah, like no, I don't think that's everybody's business.
Dominique,
my girlfriend got beat. My girlfriend was in Washington, and that happened to her, and she disclosed herself, and 8 guys jumped on her. She was literally in the hospital for a whole week and a half. She had black eyes and fractured ribs. It will never happen. I'm sorry, and I don't care who don't like it.
Okay, so it's really unfortunate that the story that she disclosed in this situation, and I think what's really important is that you don't have necessarily a phobia for people in their sexual preference. And in my situation, I don't have a phobia myself. It's really difficult when you're thinking about how complex this is going to get when I'm approaching someone I don't know what their persuasion is. I make an assumption, and then that person may or may not feel obligated to tell me to verify my assumption. And so then if I want to double check my assumption, I could ask something like, what are your pronouns? And that might be something that might be triggering, because it might be something that alludes to the story here where it might put this person at risk. And so the point of this video is that the rules of engagement are evolving real time. And so again, I don't have any problems with transgender people. I have no issues with it. This video is not an issue about transgender people and how they're dating. Cis, that's not the issue here. The issue is the rules of engagement, the rules for dating, for disclosing sexuality and preference. Those rules are evolving, and it's making a difficult game of game and pickup and picking up, talking to women and all that stuff. It's making it a level more difficult. And so if that is the game that is evolving to be had, I'm not sure that I'm prepared to engage in that. And I don't have a problem with any of the women on this panel. It's just a very difficult game. It's a very dangerous game. It's very risky. You can get in trouble any myriad of ways, from getting canceled to being someone saying that you were with so and such a type of person and saying that that's your new sexual preference. And it's just a really difficult minefield, and I'm inclined to just not participate in it. And so with that, guys, I just want to say that this dating game is going to get much more difficult, and I advise you all to proceed with caution. And if you choose not to proceed with caution, you could just SYSBM, because I think that's might be what I'm gonna do. As a matter of fact, that is what I'm doing. So I'm fine with that. If SYSBM is just not playing, then it's safer to not play the game. With that, guys, thank you for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, please comment below. I might enable comments. I hope you guys don't have some really difficult takes on this, but I'll talk to you guys in the next one.